here. Who knows why this is going bad. So we also had some questions from 32-bit Pro Tools users, and I guess that's it again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But ouch, man. We can't. The world can't support this stuff forever. Really, I don't think. I know Apple makes it harder and harder to support the older stuff. You may eventually have to update these things, but we're going to try. And then Logic users, holy crap, man. We appreciate all our users, but we have so much trouble from Logic. I don't understand it. Thought, having Apple own it now, you'd think it would just be so much simpler, but we're having a lot of trouble when people are even trying to do basic things like open zip files and install things and stuff. I really don't understand it. I'm going to have to restart this stream, so this is going to end up just complete crap, I think. Sorry about that. Or actually, this actually looks like it's back online, allegedly. Hold on, sorry. Let me refresh this thing. This really sucks. They're really. I know this is a global bad thing happening right now, so maybe I got to forgive our internet company for screwing this up, but it really shouldn't be this bad. It looks like it's running at super low res right now. There's no excuse for this, really. Yeah, a lot of people are probably using it, but come on. Sorry, I know it's going off on a tangent here, but it sucks. I do this once a week. I'd hope that the stream stays going. Anyway, Logic guys, if you can't install DMGs, how do you usually install stuff? We paid for code signing, so if that's the issue, that should be clearing up now. We'll see. And let's see the state of VST3 versus VST. As you guys know, Steinberg is trying to get everybody to stop using VST2 or VST, whatever, and use their new VST3. But it's still where VST3, okay, Steinberg makes their own DAWs, Nuendo and Cubase. And VST3 doesn't work very well in them. It actually works a lot better in a lot of other DAWs. And so, we're still telling our customers that use most of these DAWs to use the VST2 version because MIDI just doesn't seem to work. And just in general, VST3 just seems sketchy. Still isn't working well in Samplitude and still doesn't seem to be working all that well in Studio One. Man, I really don't know why this damn thing is still so I'm in super low res mode. It's acting like we got like really bad internet still. This is ridiculous. And I hate having these kind of problems. Anyway. So yeah, VST3 is still kind of a pain. It looks like the bass professor and guy who made that, what's the name of I forget the name of the company, but they make Bass Professor and Tri-Leveler and stuff. I think he kind of stopped. Like, he didn't get a VST3 version. He might have been told to stop using VST2. And so we may have lost a really great company over this mess. So please, Steinberg, either at least let's fix VST3 or let's let people just use VST2, please. So I got a couple questions. Hey, Kason, it's me as usual. Got a question about word clock, and do I really need it in my home studio? And there's so much religious nonsense out there about word clock, like it's gonna do some magical thing, and it's gonna take your crappy song and turn it into a hit if you just use this really expensive word clock. Now word clock does a very simple thing. It's a tricky thing to do right, but basically it sends out a signal that's divided precisely in time. And that's meant to sync up all your digital audio devices. It's not really a sync like you would use SMPTE to lock two tape recorders together in time so that a film video starts at the exact right time as the audio starts. That's not really what it's for. It's to make sure that sample events happen at the same time, at the correct time together. You can imagine that if you at the CD standard of 44,100 samples per second, if things aren't precisely aligned, you're going to get some weird smeary stuff when you stick a bunch of different sources together. In general, if you're using one device, and you could go straight to Dan Lavery on this, I really wouldn't put another authority above him when it comes to this kind of thing. Maybe, I don't know, but he's the guy I would listen to. He's going to tell you. Sorry, let me shut this up. Dan Lavery would tell you that putting an external word clock on a device is going to make it worse and not better than going to its own internal clock. There's a lot of silly religious arguments over this thing, but nobody's ever been able to show that I've ever seen a situation where an external word clock could be even as good as the internal word clock. So if you have like your Focusrite Sapphire or I don't think that has a word clock in, but if you have a single audio device and it has all the channels you need on it and you're not locking to another device, word clock's not going to make anything better. The best it could do is make it worse or make it the same. The time when you really need word clock is, let's say you have two devices, like you got two sets of converters or, an interface and then another 8-channel to ADAT interface, mic preamp to converter kind of thing. Then you're going to need to lock those things together. Now, most of those ADAT ones, they'll actually do ADAT sync. Like you can use ADAT itself, the ADAT signal to sync. You could use AES to sync, but sometimes you need a word clock. For instance, my Focusrite Octapres, they're ADAT out only. They don't have an ADAT in, so I can't actually sync them that way. They do have a word clock port. Oh yeah, and here's the other thing. Word clocks need termination. You're supposed to only terminate on one device at the very end. Most prosumer stuff, including these Octamics, at least this particular one I have, the Mark II, they have an undefeatable internal terminator. So if you go and plug a bunch together, you're going to have problems. So that's just another thing to think about. Word clock's a little bit tricky, but that's when you need word clock. You need it when you have multiple devices that you need to sync together. Multiple digital audio devices, I should say. Sorry. And, they used to be relatively cheap. You could go buy a word clock. So like for something like these Focusrites that I use, I would really need a word clock with multiple outputs. That way I don't have to worry about the undefeatable internal terminators in them. But now they're really expensive. Art used to make these things for like $100, I think. There used to be a bunch out there, but now they're like crazy, crazy money. Like if I go and let's just look. Let's go look at Sweetwater. So you need a device that used to cost $100. So let's just take a look at what we got here. No, I want to. And a lot of devices actually had them. You could generate with like your Motus would have a bunch of outputs. So let's see. So $1,000 for a word clock. Oh, $850, $800. Oh, nice. So RME's got a PCI one or something for the HDSP system for $180. Not too bad. But it's only got what has it got? A couple outputs. Oh, look. Only $4,000 for this word clock here. Another $4,000 for the Crane song. No, this Crane song comes with some other stuff. Avid for $2,000, $3,000 for a Tascam one, $300 for a Black Lion Audio Micro Clock Mark II. Yeah, that's not bad. What does it have? It looks like it has 2 or 3 outputs. So that I'm not going to die over that one. $1,000 for a Drummer. Just ridiculous what these things cost. So, if you really need word clock, man, you are bumming. Hopefully your master device actually can generate itself, and you have devices that can terminate after that, because, man, this sucks to pay this much money. This Black Lion one doesn't look too bad. I'm just going to click through it and see what it actually has. Looks like I see 3 ports. I don't know if that's 3 outputs or 1 output or what. Why you have a man? I don't know. You'll always hear these claims about jitter and stuff when it comes to word clock, and I guarantee if you ABX somebody, they're not going to be able to tell what's what. It would take some pretty crappy clock stuff. So let's see. Sound toys. Let's see. I had this up earlier. Sound toys is for you guys in quarantine. They have a stay home, stay creative program. It says, we're staying home to protect our community and our team. We sincerely hope you are too. To help you make your home studio a happier one, we're letting you use Sound Toys Effect Rack free through June 30th. That's pretty awesome. So go to Sound Toys and grab their Effect Rack and play with it. There's cool effects. I don't actually own any. I tried them out. They do cool things, but not exactly what I needed. But man, that's really cool for them to give you a month of playing with their stuff. There's a ML Sound Lab. They have an amp sim. It's a free one. I see everybody talking about it. I think it's from one of those hype YouTube guitar channel guys. It's like his endorsed amp thingy. But check it out, ML Sound. It's always cool to have more free amp sims and stuff. How are we doing on our vaporware watch? Anybody let me know. Is the UAD Luna out yet? Is the Pod Go out yet? Is the Neural DSP stomp box thingy-mabobber out yet? How are we doing on that? I'm going to give them a little bit of a break here, because it has been a crazy year so far since NAMM. So, but I'd like to see that stuff come out. Maybe that'll jumpstart the economy if anybody's getting those stimulus checks going by a Pod Go, right? What else? Oh, Bedroom Producers blog. Where is that now? Man, I'm really bummed because I really have a lot of stuff, but if the internet's going to be croaking on me, it's kind of a waste here. But go check out Bedroom Producers blog. They have article 40 plus music production freebies to help you stay at home. And Plugin Alliance is offering all of its music production software for free use over a 30-day period. This includes all 124 audio plugins available on their online store. I'm not sure if we're on there on Plugin Alliance, but if it is, that means our stuff too, I guess. Simply create a Plugin Alliance user account and download the PA Installation Manager. I don't know if this is one of those ones that's actually free or if you have to put in a credit card or something, but if it is free, go check it out. It's probably a cool offer anyway. And again, Reaper, Justin Frankel 2020, right? Reaper is offering a temporary Reaper 6 license until July 1st, 2020. The license is offered to anyone working remotely and or social distancing who want to use Reaper from home. That is awesome. Thanks, Justin. FX Expansion Geist, I don't know what that does, but it says a beat slicer, drum sequencer, and drum sampler. It looks cool. Voltage modular nucleus, looks like a synth kind of thingamabobber. Waves, one knob, but I'm not really going to talk about waves here. Yeah, looks like some cool stuff. Go check out these free things that Bedroom Producers blog is telling you to try. Steinberg stay-at-home bundle. Nice. Anyway, so that's those things. What else did I have here? I'm seeing a lot of stuff on the stupid hype channels. You know which ones I mean. Hype, a little bit of content, whatever. But it seems like, because everybody is gone home and everybody's making a podcast or teaching remotely or whatever they're doing, they need audio interfaces. And there's a lot of misinformation, nonsense, and frankly, peddling stuff that people really don't need. I'm going to tell you right now, a very, very lot of these devices, from the cheapest to the most expensive, use the exact same company, the Sycon.de, and nothing wrong with these guys. They do a lot of good things, including a DPC latency checker, which you should definitely have. Go to the Sycon.de and grab that latency, DPC latency utility, I think. But they use the same driver. So when you see these guys hyping, you got to buy this particular interface. And I don't even know if I want to call any companies out, but there's one that gets a crazy amount of hype. And then they compare it to these other ones that they say are totally crappy, driver-wise and stuff. They compare them to Behringer, honestly, a lot of the time. But guess what? Behringer uses those same drivers. So a lot of these, even the new SSL, okay, SSL is making an audio interface now. I'm sure it's great. It's using the Sycon.de drivers the last time I checked. So a lot of these things use the same drivers. So be very careful about the hype. Paying a lot more is not necessarily going to get you a better performing product. And you have to know, and I'm probably talking all out of order here, I've shown over and over and over again, and you're free not to believe me, and you're free to whatever. But in general, any decent modern piece of audio gear is sonically just about indistinguishable from another. I've measured these things, and I'll show you my measurements, and we can show the difference of them in measurements. Some of them will be a little bit louder than others, noisier than others. But when you do what we call an ABX test, where you're kind of double blind testing to listen between things, they really are very close. I mean, there's a lot of preachers out there that pretend to have golden ears, but usually they will not submit to these tests, and when they do, they end up famously ending up picking Arts and Mackeys for their favorite mic preamps. You can go check that out on Sound on Sound. So anyway, these devices, in audio terms, they tend to sound the same, very similar. So you're not really going to score. There's this other old myth: you get what you pay for. It's not really true. They're going to sound very similar. So that's not where you're going to get the big difference, spending a lot of money or whatever. The big difference in audio interface performance is going to be in the drivers. And that is the software that tells your computer how to talk to that interface. The very best drivers out there, as far as I know, are still RME. RME, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking latency, stability, and CPU use, and stability. But latency an as well. RME leads the pack. They are still making drivers for an audio interface that I sent to Justin to test Reaper on. That was made in 1999 or 2000, maybe 2000. They're still making drivers for that interface, and they are still the best drivers on the market. Jim Roseberry says that there's a fast device from PreSonus right now called the Quantum. You guys may know what happens with PreSonus drivers. I'm sure this is a great device, but RME is making the best drivers. Sometimes Motu makes very close to as good as the RME drivers. They still support, like I have a 1999 audio interface that they still make drivers for, or they still did. At least it still works on Windows 10. But that's where your big performance difference is going to be, is in your drivers. So if you want to find something to spend a lot of money on an interface, spend it on the better drivers. The other difference is, how many channels do you need? If you need a whole pile of channels, then yeah, your interface is going to be different. But if you just need a 2-channel interface, chances are any of the stuff is going to work for you, anything decent. Focusrite has been pretty good. They just, I think this year, last year, whatever, they put out some drivers for their very first generation of USB interfaces. So they're still looking back and supporting their customers. That's pretty cool. They're not the fastest drivers on the market. I actually have a page called, just type round trip latency roundup on Google, and you'll see it's a page that shows you the latency settings of these different drivers from different interface companies and families. So where was I? Sorry, now my internet burped on me again. So yeah, if you need a lot of, if you just need 2 channels, most of these things will work. There's a bunch of Behringers that are actually pretty good. The 202 HD, 404 HD, that series. Be very careful that they actually have an actual ASIO driver, because these ones actually have ASIO drivers from the Cycon.de. But there are some Behringer interfaces that don't have actual drivers. They want you to use ASIO for all. I don't know how well these might perform on OS X, but definitely on Windows, these don't perform as well as the ones that actually have their own drivers. And yeah, if you need bigger ones, then drivers get that much more important. Your drivers are going to tell you how many plugins you can run at low latencies without it crapping out on you. And in general, the things with the better drivers use less CPU as well. So a lot of people ask, do you need, what DI do I got to buy with this thing? And most of these interfaces have an instrument input or an instrument input function. And Carbo Music is probably going to give me a lot of crap, but I call them DIs because they perform the same function as a DI, aside from maybe the splitter function that a DI can perform. But basically, if you don't know what a DI is, if you're plugging in a guitar in general, you want to have a high impedance input. Otherwise, you might end up with the weird, noisy, mid-rangey kind of sound out of your guitar that you shouldn't have. It's something that a guitar amplifier has on its input. It has a high impedance input, or your pedals might have them. Some pedals actually have a low level input and output, but in general, once you're playing a pedal, you're probably okay. But anyway, these things most of the time come with interface instrument input, so you don't have to worry about that. Make sure it does if you're going to use that. And if you really want a DI, go buy a DI. But if you go on if you go on my webpage where I actually test DIs versus interface inputs, I got that pile of really nice radial DIs, but I will happily use the interface input. They're very close. So that's one of the issues that people get hung up on. So there you go. You got a DI on those things for the most part. Just make sure it does. Some of them don't, maybe. I think they all do by now. I remember they didn't used to, but I'm pretty sure they all do now. They're making a big deal about interfaces versus mixers. And which is kind of funny because, to me, that new Behringer, what is the thing? I just bought one, XR18. To me, that's an interface. It's a 16-channel, 18-channel interface with 16 mic preamps on it for $500. It has the Cycon driver, so maybe not ideal for that many inputs, but it works. And but it's actually meant to be a mixer. It's a Wi-Fi controlled mixer. But it makes an awesome interface. And so when you see this giant fight between, you can't use a mixer for that function, or you can't use an interface for that function. Some of them are both, sorry. RME has always been mixers and interfaces. Same with Motu, I think. They all come with those QMix things and stuff. Some are more suited for it than others, but make sure you know that you're actually checking. One of the things about mixers that claim to be interfaces, a lot of them only have 2 channels out. So it's just a stereo mix out to your DAW or to your computer. Make sure that it has as many actual streams out as you need. I think Zoom's making one. There's a couple that have actually a lot of outputs that are really handy looking. And like I say, the Behringer XR18. So just make sure you got what it says you got. I know a guy just bought a UAD Apollo 8, and it's that's a very powerful unit, and there's a lot to it. Like, don't get stuff that's more complicated than you're ever going to use. I mean, most of the stuff you ever need to do, as long as you got an input, you can handle from your computer itself. A lot of these things have a lot of DSP or onboard mixing functions on them that you just might not need. So make sure you're getting what you need. Otherwise, the complexity goes up a lot. Actually, yeah, he was running on OS X, and you know, I'm used to on Windows. You know, you pick your buffer size by going to your audio interfaces control panel and setting the buffers to what they think. You know, they've pre-configured some sizes and stuff so that you pick between them. And it looks like on the, or you could force it inside Reaper if you wanted, or inside your DAW. But it looks like the Mac ones, you actually just go in and on your DAW and choose the buffer size there, which is weird to me, because can you just type any old buffer size in there? Like, is that really how you do it? Because, I mean, RME, I was looking at their manual for the Digiface USB. And when you're on OS X, it looks like you pick the sample rate, you pick the clock source, but I don't see you picking the buffer size in there. So, yeah, maybe that's true. You actually set it yourself. I don't know. So you OS X guys, you really just type that thing in there, huh? Okay. So yeah, I still don't understand it. And this is the thing is when I go to Google this, it's pretty tricky for me to find out, and I should know, right? I mean, there's a lot of people learning to record right now, or learning to use these interfaces because they need to teach. And, you know, we've talked about this before, but man, Google has obfuscated stuff so bad that it's really hard to find info. Especially stuff that used to be really easy to find. I actually had to make a short video the other day teaching how to share a Reaper project. I mean, it is really hard to find that in a format that you're used to using anymore. These used to be all over YouTube, and they used to be all over Google. I don't know if you tried to type things in Google lately, but and again, we've had a whole show about this. That's why it makes me so mad when people are like, "Did you try Google? Let me Google that for you." Well, sorry, Google has actually purposely obfuscated search results to the point where it is really hard to find this kind of stuff. And so, I don't know. We got to start making repositories and having links to these things again, like the old web. That's ridiculous. I mean, you know, I love Kenny, of course, and hipster John Tidy, but you know, those are longer videos, and a lot of this crowd kind of needs the teal deer version, you know. So I don't know what we're supposed to do about this. Are we going to have to make our own search engine just for audio related stuff, or is Google? Man, come on, Google! You guys just keep doing crazy crap to everybody. Stop it, please. So, you know, in general, I don't know what the answer to that is. Do you guys, you know, send me some questions? I'll try and answer them. But we do need a ways that we can search this again. Maybe we can come up with some search terms that we can stick in the tags to make this stuff easier. But again, that's for new videos. What about all these wonderful videos people have made in the past that Google has made it impossible to find now? That sucks, because there's some serious gems out there. And I guess I really don't know what to do about that. And, you know, I don't want to get into the routing thing again, you know. We talked about it at the beginning here. But probably I want to set something up where I can teach this side of things, you know, getting your interfaces working and everything, and teach it live. Let me know how you guys would want to do that. I don't know if it's Zoom, or can I send OBS to Zoom? Maybe I can. Maybe that takes care of all that. Let me know how you guys want to do that kind of thing. But I definitely want to start doing some remote education with the streaming stuff, especially on that, because it is the same questions over and over and over, and it's not your guys' fault. That's the fault of Google not making it possible to even find things anymore. But thanks to these internet issues, whatever happened, I think that's all I got time for. Wow, this has been a long one. I'll hopefully see you guys next week if you know what doesn't happen, and if I'm okay, even if it does. So I'll see you guys later.